faces
throw my
up here.
2 cents in. I travel that bridge every day, at least twice a day for the last 6 years, so I've driven that bridge 5,000 times. I've been held up there about maybe 5 times.
You are good.
Biggest
Ron?
problem is the grade, not so much the curve of the bridge, from what my experience.
Grade. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're in the afternoon session of January 9th. Our next agenda item is an action item. This is a discussion decision on the applicants for the Rec Advisory Committee, and everybody has this list. I think what we can do is maybe talk about folks that maybe, I don't really see any that maybe don't qualify on this list. But being Commissioner Thompson is new, I think he needs to kind of have a shot at this. And so chances are this is going to get tabled until next week until we can get his input. But I am open to suggestions from anybody. Dave, you want to lead the discussion, or Larry? I'm not sure who's.
Well, I was just gonna say, I didn't think we were gonna be at a point where we were prepared to talk about each of the folks that are applying today, just based on not getting Commissioner Thompson his list until just a little while ago. So I think, the goal would just be maybe we have a few minutes, we just decide exactly what our process is gonna be. Our recently retired commissioner was really hoping that we could find places for all these folks in our program. So I think the big thing is just we have in our bylaws 7 to 9 members, and how do we want to make that cut? How many of those folks do you want to interview? Would be my questions.
So I had a thought over the weekend, and because we do have such qualified applicants, what if you guys did the first round of interviews? And that way people feel like their voices are heard, and then bring the final maybe 11 to us, give us a couple alternatives or something. But I don't know what you guys think of that, but we do have some really qualified applicants. I concur with Ed. I would love to see all these people placed within the county structure some way in order to capitalize on their, their achievements in life and use that knowledge. Even if they be placed, the ones that have specific talents and skills that they want to see. I mean, what if some of them went to the Winter Rec Committee? What if some of them went to the Waterways Committee? Engage people in different avenues and see if they're willing to do that. So if they're not chosen for this, let's use their talents for good anyway.
We can do whatever you guys want us to do. I think, based on the conversations and the emails I've traded back and forth with everybody that's applied, over the process of the last, 2 months, it sounds like a lot of those folks would like to figure out a way to plug in. A lot of them understand that, the first round of these appointments are going to be, some of them are going to be turning over in a year. And I think that we'll have a lot of people that will cycle through this. I mean, ideally, we have people who can stay for a couple of years, but I think in reality, we're going to have a lot of turnover just with any board. So I think we'll have an opportunity to plug them in. And a lot of the folks I've talked to understand that they may not be on the first round, or we might have, some subcommittees that we can pull them into, but they're all interested in engaging. So.
Well, a couple of things I've been thinking about. I know our bylaws said, I think it was 7 or 9 people, and I still don't know if that really has to be a solid number. I know 11 or 13 is a lot more folks to work with, but I think you get more. You're going to get some folks that aren't going to show, and some folks that are going to be there every time, kind of like the coalitions. And then the other thought is some of these folks haven't been here very long, maybe a year or 2 years. I don't know if they really have been here long enough to see this is where we need help in, maybe in a specific area they're really good at, whether that's motorized or non-motorized or rafting, whatever. But I think that you should be here a little bit longer to kind of see where our issues are. And I don't know, we can use that as maybe a plan B or a secondary board or an alternate position or something like that. I don't know. I'm just trying to throw out ideas here. I hate to turn away anybody.
I agree with you 100%. I'm a stubborn individual. You guys know, because I've worked with you guys.
No.
And I prefer
We never saw that.
having worked with these groups and the coalitions, especially working with a board. I think it's important to keep that at a really high functioning level with I don't want to say a minimum amount of people, but I think a 7 to 9 person voting member board is going to be really adequate for what we're looking at. I think we're going to have a lot of other people who are going to come and engage in the meetings, whether they're agency folks or concerned citizens. So the group can be as big as it wants to be, and the meetings will probably be large and lively discussions. But I think that from our standpoint as a group and what we're trying to accomplish, I really think that we want to keep the voting members down to a usable and workable size.
I agree.
I
I think we
agree
need,
with that.
yeah, I think we need to keep it to 9 too, but we can use community action teams. There's nothing wrong with having subgroups working on different projects.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, the person on the board level that actually votes for that subgroup, that's just a reflection of the subgroup and the work that they do outside of those meetings. So these people, and that's why I think you guys meeting with them would be really advantageous, because you would find more information than just putting it on paper. We're not going to have time to meet with all these people. But honestly, I think that they should be met with, and I think that their interests should be documented some way, and ask them, we're going to be working on rec trails, and maybe somebody, that's their absolute passion, but they really don't care about the legislative side of things.
And I mean, we can certainly do that on the front side, or I can do that on the back side when I'm calling to tell people, hey, you weren't selected in this initial round, but we're going to have a place for you, and we still want you actively engaged in our planning process, whether it's as a voting member or not. I mean, again, I just don't get too hung up on this core group of folks that are going to be the voting members, because I know whether it's, Simba, Citra, OHV groups or somebody else, that there are going to be a lot of other groups that are going to come and want to be part of the discussion.
I guess I go back to my HR a little bit, because when I hired people, I could have put 5 applicants in front of me and I knew which one I was going to hire. And after the interview, I took somebody else, just because of the interaction and the play. You two are going to have to work with these people.
Sure. And again, I've chatted with a bunch of them on the phone, and I've been very impressed with all of them.
Okay.
So I feel good about it. And the one thing I would say is I just started compiling the list based on everybody's input, and I think we're going to have 11 or 12 people that we all agree on that just made it into our common lists.
Okay.
I think just based on you guys and then Larry and my list that I had compiled earlier was we had 7 people that we were all scored high enough that we liked them.
Don't screw that up.
And that's what this, that's what this is. To me, it's just names.
Yeah.
That doesn't tell me nothing.
And I was going to say the
Yeah.
list of resumes and letters and things like that, that'll give you just a little bit more information.
Yeah.
That gives you a little bit of their background. But, like I said, I feel very lucky. I got a chance to talk to all these folks,
Mm-hmm.
and every single one of them had something to contribute. So, again, we're here to do whatever you guys want to do. I just think it would be nice during this session if we had a clear path forward.
Well, and I think to me, it's really important that the representatives on this group come from all different ends of the valley. And so I think that's going to limit our options down in the Cascade, maybe Don Lear, because there isn't that many apps in that area. So we're almost kind of stuck taking those people. I don't like to be in that position, but to me, that's the only way this is going to work. Otherwise, it's going to get too political if everybody is from one end of the valley or the other. That will be my main parameter, to start off with.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to get down, I think, of a big list of folks from the north end of the valley. And we're going to have to go through those, looking at, I don't think it's right that we have all motorized folks or non-motorized folks. We need that mixture to make all this work. Unfortunately, the letters and the apps that we got, there's not a lot of real heavy information. They list some of their hobbies and things they like to do, like boating or mountain biking or ATVing, but some of them, it's everything.
Right.
It's like, well,
Those are the people I'd like to see on there.
yeah, that's the kind of guy I want on there, because he does a little bit of everything. And then I want somebody that's been around the valley for a while. Not someone that's just moved in the last 2 or 3 years. I don't think they know the valley yet enough to say, this is what we should do and not do. They just don't know the valley yet. So I think that's something that we need to think about as well. I don't know, I'm debating on Sherry's idea about you guys do the interviews and pick. Maybe you could narrow it down.
Your top 11 or something.
I think you would know who would be floating to the top. I mean,
I don't want it to be biased to my
no, but
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
realistically, as a leader, you know who can float to the top and be better in that position of being a voting
Sure.
guy on a board or lady.
When
Well, I
they
was
do go
gonna-
back, you guys will be working with them.
One thing I would say that would be really advantageous on that side, if we decide to go that route, is that Larry and I could meet people up in Lake Fork, and we could also meet people down here on this end of the valley, so they're not all traveling here to meet with you guys.
Right.
I would kind of assume you'd have to go to wherever you can meet them
Mhm.
in the beginning, but, you know, that's another thing we need to talk about. Are we gonna reimburse mileage for these folks? Well, we don't really do it for waterways, we don't do it for snowmobile advisory, so we don't wanna start that trend, but,
We didn't do it for road
that
advisory.
can be a big issue for some people. I don't have enough money to buy the fuel to go to the meetings, so I can't make it.
Right. And I was gonna say, I think hopefully, we get the Lake Fork set up with technology and the internet connection that we can, and use that as the live meeting hub. And then if we get to the point where we have, connection and technology that'll allow, then we can have, the combination virtual and live meetings. That technology to me is probably the worst of all of our options. In my mind, I'd rather be all Zoom or all live.
Yes.
Well, and that's something we could establish that now, that they're not gonna be Zoomed.
Yeah.
They're gonna be in person only.
Yeah.
Those are things we can set those parameters if you want us to.
That way it eliminates people from Boise too that don't really engage at that level here. You've got to be present to come to these
And I,
meetings, so.
I agree with you 100%. I think there were a couple of people who were standouts that were primary residents of Boise, but there are a number of people who have homes here and they're either transitioning here full time or they're almost full time folks. So they would be more readily available than somebody who is still traveling up here on a regular basis or irregular basis.
There was one that I chose that you may be questioning why, but she had worked for the YMCA in the past.
Mhm.
And that's a whole nother form of recreation we haven't even thought about or talked about is, that indoor capacity for recreation in this area as we move forward. And so I was very interested in that because the Y is interested in Valley County. We have to figure out a way to connect those two things.
Yeah, I was gonna say, honestly, I agree 100%. As I think that's one of our central goals is to figure out what sort of facility do we really need and do we want to do it, in our realm, or do we want to try to work with somebody like the Y to come up here?
Was this person from the Y out here at Horse Thief?
No, down in Nampa, I believe.
She wasn't from up here.
Yeah, I
don't
think
remember.
she has a second home up here. Or, yeah, either that or she just left down there, but, yeah, but the Y is, somebody we need to connect with. And
That
she's,
goes with our clerk's memorial dome that we're going to put up as well. The Doug Miller,
don't let Doug vote.
Doug's dome.
Yeah,
Larry, do you want to add anything? Is there anything you
Yeah.
want?
So, just because I've been involved in collaborations for so long and advisory boards for so long, one of the things when I was going through, and I agree, we need to spread them out. We've always talked about that. We also need a certain amount of them that are the boots on the ground kind of guys that are out seeing what's actually there. That's one of the weaknesses in some of our collaborations is we got a lot of really smart people with a lot of scientific background and very little time on the ground seeing what's really there. I think Dave and I, one of our biggest responsibilities in this group is going to be always clarifying or bringing Forest Service employees in or IDL people in to keep them, because there's rules. There's certain things that we got to meet for all the other agencies, and that's going to be the big learning point. But I think Dave and I can interview and come up with 11 or 12 even, and then we'll bring those to you guys, and then you guys would make the final decision on it.
I really like that.
And I think Neil should still put his input in. I know I've given, I think it's 12 off of my list, so, between the six of us, or how many there is, I think we're gonna get it down pretty close within one or two people of all disagreeing on.
I'm just impressed with the quality. I'll tell you, I can't complain about anybody on there. The quality and response was phenomenal. So,
I'm
Yeah.
thrilled. It just tells you the need in our community for this type of a thing. People are very engaged.
anyway, so if that's what you guys want to do, we'll go ahead and set up a a certain set of questions to ask and interview them and bring you guys we may bring you 14.
I think that's awesome.
All right.
And I think that's a great idea. It's a start.
Yes.
It's a start. I mean, a lot of these, I'm going to tell you, probably 99% of them, I don't know. I know a few of them on here, but
That's the issue. Yeah. And as far as I know Dave doesn't like Zoom too well, but in the future, there's going to come a time where we're going to have, we always have to have in-face meetings. But there'll come a time when we're going to have Zoom meetings too. Just, because of costs and travel and everything else. And I'm so used to doing Zoom meetings, it's almost like being in person anymore. But
Well, make sure your office in Lake Fork is set up for that type of
That's the
technology.
plan. Thank you.
That's the biggest thing, is that we
Yeah.
all get stuck in these
we're a
environments
ways
where
away
it's
from that, unfortunately.
a couple months, hopefully.
So in
yeah,
the meantime, we're going to have to figure out a way to Zoom from your office downstairs or something like that. I don't know.
You guys can also do it from here. Dave, I don't know if you ever figured this out when you were sitting back here, but
Yeah, you can
I'm
come in
happy
here and
to
have
engage
Well, I
and
was just
just
gonna say,
use
if we're
the
just doing interviews, we
projector.
can run a Zoom meeting.
Yeah,
I'm thinking more of the hybrid style where you have some people that are participating remote. and
That's
some
the
people
tough
in
one.
person. That's the worst case scenario. maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that is hard.
Yeah.
and we've Zoomed from downstairs before. So great, thanks, guys.
I Zoom around the courthouse all the time.
Okay, so even though this is an action item, we're gonna, I'm gonna postpone this until next week. I'm assuming you guys will be ready by next week, or you need to.
It'll depend on the group. We'll have to reach out to them.
So I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to get with Doug to get it back on the agenda as an action item.
I think that makes sense.
Remember,
Okay.
we don't meet on the 30th, so just,
No, so it'd be what, this,
either the 17th or the 23rd,
Sixth.
if somebody can get there. If not, you're into February. So.
okay. They all good? Everybody has homework.
Homework.
Or you.
Yeah, he just gave it to me. I gotta read all these things.
It's in your email too. Once you get a hold of that same file's in your email.
That's what was on my email. It's on my other iPad. She sent me all
I
that.
think I sent it to him.
Okay, I'm gonna move on down our agenda. These are all action items, and I don't think it's an emergency or anything like that as far as the public having to be here. But these are all letter of supports for different recreational grants. Larry, do you want to come up and present them, or how do you want to do this?
Dave, do that.
Dave, you want to come on up?
You bet.
Let me see if I can find him again.
Yeah, basically, we've got 4 projects that we sent you guys letters. These are just the initial letters of support that we're including in the applications. There's 3 different projects, but there's 4 different grant applications for those 3 grants, or those 3 projects. We have time on the schedule next week, and I'll be presenting the grants to you guys for approval. So I'm still finishing up on some of the financials on those. The first project that you guys have in your packet to sign a letter of support for is the commercial mower for the RV campgrounds. So we're asking for $5,300 from IDPR in total for a campground that we can use at Wellington, and then assuming that we get Clear Creek built in the next year or two, be up at Clear Creek, and then we'll be able to use it at other recreational facilities as well.
So is it like a brush hog, or what are you
It's-
actually, like a riding
It's like a
lawnmower
riding
kind of
mower
thing?
like you would
Yeah.
see at the golf course, 0 turn radius.
There's that much grass down there? I just didn't realize there was that much grass down there.
Yeah, we've got about 2.5 acres of grass in
Oh,
there. And then
okay.
the way they've been doing it is with a weed eater. So
Oh, yeah, that's not.
And there's also a kind of an issue with, oh man, I just
Agree,
went
Lori.
blank. The weed,
knapweed.
spotted knapweed down in Wellington,
terrible.
it's quite a, and I think if you keep it mowed off, especially those layers, those leaves right next to the ground, which is hard to do with a mower, it'll eventually go away. And every time it goes to seed, it's thousands of seeds. I think this is a great idea. And I can tell you, there's all different kinds of prices for lawnmowers. I bought a new one last year. That's a 0 turn, Husqvarna, commercial, and I got it at DMV in Emmett on sale for not quite $5,000.
The nice thing about, as I say, the nice thing about all these grants is we apply more than what we think we need, especially this year where we're looking at funding projects that all of our contractors and suppliers are telling us add 20% to. We don't have to use all the money. So whatever we use from IDPR, we submit that at the end of the grant cycle, and then we just get reimbursed for what we actually spent. So we're asking with that, there's $1,060 match that has to go with it. We're trying to get 20% matches at least on all of our grants this year.
1,060?
Yeah, purchasing equipment requires a 20% match. So those will come out of the user fees that we collect at Wellington.
That's awesome.
So that one's pretty straightforward. I think that one will be, I'm hoping that will be a slam dunk with the committees. I've talked to a lot of the committee members and they're very excited, eager to support that.
How will you move it around from park to park? Do you have a trailer?
Trailer,
We
yeah.
have a trailer.
Do you? Okay.
And I might suggest you guys too, when you buy it, buy a couple of oil filters and a couple of belts and all the extra parts you're gonna need because things do break. And blades, just so you have them on hand and do it all at once. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion that we sign a letter of support for Parks and Rec grant for a campground lawnmower.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries. Did you guys print these letters out?
I have them.
Oh, you have
Yeah, I
them?
was gonna say Gabby had them all on
Oh, great.
letterhead.
I think they're in order.
Okay,
You're getting to them.
yep.
Okay,
All
so-
three of us sign this.
Next one on my list is Brush Creek. That one is a little bit different project. We've applied for a couple different grants over the last year to try to fund some improvements at Brush Creek Campground, which is one of the ideal lots for snowmobile parking. Brush Creek is now a summertime trailhead as well. And then over the last couple of years, it's starting to become kind of an overflow campground for Ponderosa State Park. So we're getting more RVs and campers that are pulling in there and just paying an overnight fee to stay there. The other thing is we're seeing an increase in people who are using the little trail that goes down to the river out of that area to launch kayaks and paddle boards. So it's becoming a year-round recreational hub for us. The trail comes down, the Payette Lake Trail comes down right across the road. So it's a really nice location. We're applying for grants this year. In total, $68,241 worth of grants for campground upgrades and improvements and a CXT toilet. So
What's our match?
the match that we have right now, this is a good one. It's going to take me a minute to go through this. We need $17,776 to get up to a 26% match, which is competitive. We have commitments from Jeff and the road department for gravel and delivery of the gravel. We have $2,000 in cash contributed by user groups that like that spot. And we also have $7,800 that we got from the RAC fund this year. And so what we're looking at for that is we need $980 worth of cash on hand. And we'll use user fees for that we collect at the site.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a
Very
good
good.
one.
Awesome.
Can you
So
tell me
how
that
many
again, Dave?
sites do we get?
700
You
what?
We get six
Total
sites?
total on it was $68,241 for the whole project. So that's 6 campsites with picnic tables, fire pits, graded gravel parking areas, the CXT toilet, and we need $980 total. It'll come from user fees. The total match is made up by user groups, including Call Hiking Club, United Payette, Simba, and McCall Snowmobile Group. So they're contributing another $2,000. And then we got the $7,800 from the RAC when we applied for the RAC funding.
That's awesome. I'm really excited to see this.
That's,
Is there an opportunity for future expansion there with only 6 sites right now?
There
So
is.
yes, awesome.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve this support letter.
I would move to approve the letter of support for the Park and Rec grant for the Brush Creek parking lot.
Seconded.
Move to second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And I can't talk and write at the same time, so you're gonna have to wait. So the next one is a letter of support for Valley County Parks and Rec improvements at Cabarton River access.
So again, we're applying for, that's an RTP grant, which is Recreational Trails Program. They have a subcategory of the RTP program that's for water trails. And somebody, maybe Cinda and part of the Economic Development Committee in the past, set up the North Fork of the Payette River as a designated water trail. So we have an opportunity to apply for funding under that component of the RTP program. We're looking at adding a actual boat ramp, a 16-foot wide boat ramp, where we have now a dirt trough and sort of a muddy, rocky mess going down to the river. We're going to add another slide ramp for rafts adjacent to the stairs on the upstream side, and then a new kiosk with some informational signage. So in total, we're looking at $54,086 worth of improvements at that site. That covers all three of those things I just mentioned. Right now, we have $3,000 in user fees that we can bring in from the site that we've already collected, and we're going to be about $10,000 short on our match. $10,286 short. So we're going to be asking you guys at some point in the future if you can help us fund that $10,000. I've been really impressed with the folks that I've interfaced with through all the different channels, but the folks that are interested in writing letters of support for this, I mean, they're like not only heck yes, or not even just yes, but heck yes on this project, because we all know it's just a huge bottleneck getting people in and out of there. I've heard a lot from people that they would also like to see us actually have a county takeout down at the lower end that would be a little more user-friendly as well. Different subject. So at any rate, we're looking at, like I said, $54,000 total. We've got $3,000 in user fees collected from the site. We're holding our hands out for $10,000 and change, but right now we just need a letter of support.
And I think that this is very appropriate to use ARPA funds on, because that is one of the main things that people want is recreation use with ARPA funds. So that rated very high in that survey. So I think that I am more than willing to use $10,000 to get a return of almost $60,000. So, and improve that whole area tremendously.
So I need a motion for this one.
I would move that we sign a letter of support for the Valley County Parks and Rec grant for improvement at the Barton River access. So there's two of them that say the same thing, guys. One of them's for the boat ramp.
This is for the one that says recreational trails.
Neither one of them does on ours. It says boat ramp and then it says improvements, but one
Okay.
way or another.
I was gonna say,
They're
there was
both
one
for
that said,
area.
it should have said,
This
In
is the
the-
recreational trails program.
yeah, the heading, the
That's
header.
this one, right?
Yes.
Yep. And then the other one is the Waterways Improvement Fund Advisory Committee that talks about Camarton.
Right. That would be the last one I talked to you guys about.
We had a motion. Did I get a second?
Got a second.
Who's the second? All in favor, please say aye.
I-
Aye, motion carries.
Okay, I'll just jump into the last one. The last one is a contingency plan. So we're asking for $19,244 from the Cutthroat Trout Plate License Fund, and that's the Waterways Improvement Fund Committee. If we don't get the funding on the RTP grant for the whole project, we still really want to get a boat ramp installed, and this fits very nicely under that Cutthroat Trout Plate Fund program. It's specifically designated for fishing access. Fish and Game is very supportive of this. We're getting a lot more fishing access, or fishermen coming down from Cascade, as you guys know. There's no easy way to get drift boats out of the water down there. We also got a letter of support from the Sheriff's Department for this to get a boat ramp in so that they would have an easier time if they needed to stage a response with either watercraft or their smaller boat. So that gives us an opportunity to be able to launch boats and trailer them both on and off from that site. So this is just a backup plan if we don't get the RTP funding. But we're asking for $19,244 total. We've got $3,000 in that same fund because that won't overlap. We'll either have one or the other from the user fees, and that leaves us about $1,200 short.
Did you guys ask about either of these things to the Waterways Committee?
We have approval
Waterway
from,
funds?
yep, they actually wrote a letter of support for both of these grants.
No funding mechanism there?
It doesn't really fit.
No?
We tried.
Well, I would still support this one too, so I would move to support the Parks and Recreation grant for the boat ramp improvement at the Cabart and river access.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And if I'm figuring this right, Dave, I think the total match we have to come up with, just for shits and giggles, excuse my language, is 13,466.
Not actually. Oh, for
No?
the total of all
For all
of
of
them?
them.
Yeah, that's probably very close.
Okay,
Wow, to get how much, return, that's a huge investment.
Yeah, and
For
a
such a
lot of that's
small
coming out of
investment.
user fees collected.
Yeah.
That's, I
so
think, one of the
exciting.
biggest things.
the other thing that I wanted to mention, because I'm a landowner upriver from that, is the county owns upriver, I don't know, an acre or so in there, I don't know for sure. But on the uphill side of that bridge, there's a big basalt pour when they built that bridge that a guy could build a boat launch above the bridge or something like that too as well. We run a hot wire down through there and then kind of over Kitty Corner, keep the cows out of most of that.
Right.
And that's one of the place I've looked at as far as maybe building even another slide for rafters. So you can take off on both sides of the road, but I'll let you guys figure that one out.
Here's the other
That's
one.
always a
I'm hoping that the improvements at the site we have right now, they address the access component. As you guys know, our biggest problem there is parking. And that's something we've got to start looking at as well. Last year, there were several weekends where we had people parked a mile away in both directions. Half a mile up to the West Mountain side and clear back down to the trailers.
The
on
most I've
south.
ever seen in my side of it, down to my gravel pit, was about 185 cars. So they come clear down to my gravel pit, which is on that straight section. And sometimes they'll even park in the gravel pit. It's like, you can't do that.
Maybe that's a county lease opportunity.
There you go.
And I know there's some stuff on the east side of the road coming up to Cabarton Bridge is covered with timber that is still part of the county right of way, but it would need to be logged and a lot of dirt work to make any more parking, but that's certainly an opportunity too. I know Larry and I've talked about a chunk of ground I have on the west side, a little further down, but it's really super wet.
Mhm.
And it's gonna take some drainage or something to even do that.
I think
And I don't wanna sell it, but I'd be interested in leasing it.
if we could even just open up the shoulders enough to have an actual lane of off the road parking, that would be huge. If we had parking on both sides of the road that was enough to get people out of the right of way or out of the travel way.
Right.
On record, leasing opportunity.
Well, the person that really owns most of the ground right at the launch facility is the King Family Estates. And really hard people to reach. I've tried to reach them and talk to them about that. And you might work with them, but the problem with that is it's straight up.
Yeah,
So
we'd
you'd
have to
do
have a terraced
terrace parking lot or something there. I don't know what, but
I've seen all kinds of things in the building industry.
yeah, maybe we need one of those CarMax things that you raise up or something.
Great. Anything else you guys want to ask us?
I can't think of anything. I'm sure I will after you guys leave, so.
You got my number.
Okay, Lori, we've got
Oh, you
about
are.
12 minutes until our next agenda item, so I'm gonna have you mute. And we'll be back here at 1:45. We're back on, Doug.
Chairman, we are back on the record.
Welcome back, everybody. Our next agenda item is an action item. This is the different committees and coalitions and boards that each commissioner serves on. And since we have a new commissioner coming on board, I think we need to talk about who's going to be on what, who's going to cover what. I don't know. It looks to me like there's about 30 of them. So I'm going to start. Everybody have the list? Everybody has a list, right?
Got it.
Okay, MyCap, Commissioner Moppett's been doing that. I did it for 4 or 5 years. I'm not sure, do we need to keep somebody on there, Sherry?
I really think we do.
Do you want to keep it or do you want to pass it on?
I'll keep it. There's a housing
Okay.
component that's come up. And so I want to keep anything where we could potentially have affordable housing.
And just so you know, Neil, YCAP is a federal project that deals with Western Idaho Community Action Program, deals a lot with after-school programs, daycares,
It starts the name.
and
that
start,
comes
stuff
up.
like that.
They also deal a lot with the seniors in the communities.
Right.
And they do own a housing project in McCall.
Oh, yeah.
It's right behind where 634 is, that
Uh-huh.
village, whatever it is back there. I'm not sure
Yep.
what it's called, but.
You move on down to the next one, Sid My Goal Collaborative. I got on that one here last year, but I'm going to be straight with you. I haven't made any of those meetings because they're Zooms and there are times that usually I'm here on
I can
Mondays.
take that one because, first of all, I would like to put in some requirements, especially on the housing front.
So you want that one?
I do. I will do that. But I also want to make sure that we are, as a partner on that, that our departments are communicating in a way they should be.
Right.
So,
The next one, the Pay It Forest Coalition, and Commissioner Allen was on that one. I was on the Boise Forest Coalition. And Neil, you had talked about you would want to be involved in some more of the Forest Service discussions, so I thought of you for those.
Okay.
And they'll get you on the list. You'll have to get a hold of Larry. He can tell you, who the drivers are, how do you get on that list, and they'll notify you. Most of them are Zooms, but you can't go in person. So we'll put you down for that one. The next one is the Winter Rec, and the Winter Rec is more of a McCall end group. I've been doing that. I've gone to a couple of them, but it's mostly, you have, I think, like 2 or 3 meetings a year. And
Like a snowmobile
it
thing?
involves Brundage, it involves
anything winter recreation.
anything Winter Rec up in that end of the valley. And I honestly think it should be one of you two because I'm
I'd
from that
be,
end.
Not me.
I'd be interested in that.
Okay, so we'll put you on there. The next one is the Road Advisory Board, and that board has
It's on
kind of
hold
been
right now.
dissolved.
Well, it's just on hold right now until they have something they can work on. So
So we'll just leave that one where it is.
I want the E EDC.
In West Central Mountains Economic Development, Commissioner Moppin. EMS, LEPC, and 9/11 are mine, and I don't mind staying with that. They're to deal with the local emergency plans, the 911 dispatch, all that kind of stuff. The next one's Central District Health Board, and I've been on that one for, I think, 8 years now. Sometimes it gets a little political, but it's a really good board to serve on. They're very upfront with a lot of people
one?
that come into the state.
Which one is this one?
Refugees Central District Health. And the meetings are in Boise every other month.
Oh, that's one you've been doing?
And I've been doing that one. I would like to stay on that one because we're going to have a couple of board members go off. Mr. Labrador goes off now that he's been elected Attorney General. And I don't know about Mr. Cole, what they're going to do with that. We'll see.
Okay.
The next one, Boise Forest Coalition, and that one I would certainly turn over to you, Neil, if you want to do that one too.
All right.
The next one is the Fair Board. That's Commissioner Moppins.
So
Community Guardians is mine.
hold on 1 second.
What?
Let's go back. So the Southwest Resource and Conservation Board, we haven't had anybody going since Mary hasn't been here. Do we want to ask
This is
if
RC&D.
Kinsey wants to
Oh, yeah.
go to that one? I just put grant writer on it, but if you want,
Doug, is that something you think Mackenzie would be interested in?
I think that she would, and I can ask her about
Okay.
her interest.
It'd be great, because there are a lot of grants that come out of that one. I think that's why we put Mary on there in the first place.
Okay, Fair Board, George, Community Guardians,
So,
mine.
hold on, Fair
Good.
Board, I would like to
Oh, you don't want
change
it?
that one up. If you want me to take the magistrate at all,
No, I'm still good with magistrate.
are you?
Yeah,
Okay. Neil, would you like Fair Board? And the reason I'm saying that, I just took on other responsibilities, both nationally and state level, with the Natural Resource Mitigation Fund and the Housing Initiative. So I have a pretty full plate right now.
Fair board, yeah, I can,
They meet once a month.
okay.
We are gonna be talking a lot this year about how to improve the fairgrounds down there. So
those fair, all the fairgrounds owned by the county.
it is owned by the county.
Okay.
Yep. And you and I will get together and have a long conversation about that one.
Okay, the next one is Community Guardians, which is kind of a job for the chairman. We've had 2 people this last year that it's basically a board that takes care of people that are end of life and how to deal with their family and their estates if they don't have a family, and how to take care of these people, long-term care. And it's a lot of court-ordered stuff that you have to go to court on, and basically Brian Noggle does most of that work for us. The next one is Waterways Advisory, and I had Mr. Allen was on that one. Neil, do you want that one?
Waterways Advisory Committee.
They meet once a month on a Tuesday morning, and they do all of the waterways. They work with Kevin Turner, and they patrol all the waterways. They control the Coast Guard Fund and all funding that we get from the state for anything to do on the waterways.
Hmm.
So it's
And it's a lot of work with the
advocates.
sheriff's department. Kevin is kind of the lead on that whole group, and
They,
pretty good budget. I think it's around 460,000 a year,
Okay,
something
Yeah.
like that.
you can put me down there.
He's the Land Allocation Committee. I think this is part of the Payette Forest Coalition.
it's actually a separate one.
Is it separate than the coalition? I know
They
Larry's
haven't
been doing.
meeting because there was so much disagreement. They were so disagreeable, they kind of backed off on it. But I'm on the Southwest Idaho RAC now, and I don't know if that really has anything to do with the land allocation or not. So we could leave that one blank until we know for certain.
Well, let me talk to Larry about that because I know he was on there for a while too.
Okay.
Snowmobile Advisory, I can take that one unless you really want it, Neil or Sherry.
I don't want it.
I've been involved on the snowmobile club for several years. Wasn't last year, but
And they meet first Thursday of every month. So we'll give you that one. I don't want you to take too much on here.
I know. That's something I'm familiar with though, so.
Valley Soil and Water,
Have you been on that one, Elton?
I was on Valley Soil and Water for my first 12 years after I came home from college. I was actually on that board. And I'm not sure we really need to have a commissioner at that.
I think we do.
Deals, well, they have, not bylaws, but recommendations that a commissioner serve on them. But we never had a commissioner on any of ours for years and years. But that's something that, since I'm kind of the farmer in the room, I can do that. I don't want to overburden Neil.
There's a lot of things that are coming up with that I do think that we need to have a collaborative effort there. We're going to be hearing cloud seeding next. I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening in that arena that I think, we're going to get a lot of recommendations. It would be nice to have more information from that.
Sure, so I'll take that one, Neil, unless you really want it.
Most of it's Zoom.
National Forests and Counties and School Coalition, that's,
I'll save that
Sherry?
one.
okay, other ones are this new Recreation Strategic Planning Group. Commissioner Bingman, the rec director's on that one.
That's what we just talked about?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't know,
I think I'll take that one. It's
You
okay
want
with
that
you
one?
guys. I'm good at startup and putting things in place.
the recycling group, I don't know if they're still meeting. This was a group out of
They're not.
McCall,
Yeah, they're not meeting right now.
so that one's blank. Pathways, kind of the same thing. Waterways, kind of the same thing.
The waterways is what we're going to be talking about next. And so that was our collaborative that was going over all the waterways management plan.
But that Neil's on the
It's-
Waterways Advisory Committee already.
Mhm.
And that's why that would probably be a good fit, just if there is anything as we move forward, that would probably be a good fit for.
Okay, then we get into the Idaho Association of Counties, IAC, and they have different committees there that's more on a state level. There's transportation, intergovernment, public lands,
I've got to be on the public lands.
and
And the
they don't have
intergovernmental.
public health anymore.
So one of you guys will need to take transportation, which that deals a lot with ITD issues, broadband
Okay.
issues, that type of thing.
And I can take that one if, unless Neil wants it really bad. I think there's another one that I think I put into, but we'll see. Commissioner Mopin is on intergovernmental, and like I say, there's no public health anymore. There's IAC public lands.
Isn't there a health and safety though? Isn't there,
Nope,
there's something
nope,
that,
they took it all. They did away with it when they expanded Medicare.
So you got transportation and intergovernmental.
No, I got transportation.
Oh, took the
And
transportation.
then here's public lands, and that's a pretty good one.
I've got to do public lands because I'm on the natural resource mitigation
So
fund.
you want that one instead of
Do you want to do the intergovernmental? one?
intergovernmental?
What's involved with intergovernmental?
So it's all, a lot of it is legislative. What's going on at the legislature? And it won't be a huge lift because I sit on the legislative committee as a voting member, and so I'll know a lot of what's going on anyway. But the intergovernmental, it meets maybe once a month. But the biggest thing is you go to the conferences, and it'll be at the IAC conference. You go and you figure out what it is. If you'll be on it in the future, then you can probably get back or get away from that. But they've got a lot of great stuff on it. Doug, would you have any further comment on the intergovernmental? Because you
What
sit
you-
on that one too.
What you provided.
Okay. A lot of it is just what's happening at the legislature, but I can stay on that one because I'm already on the legislative anyway. So you can decide, you can go to those meetings this time and figure out where your interest lies.
Okay, why don't you stay on that one? I might go to some of the meetings and get involved with that.
I'm looking because I think there's one more.
Public health is out.
So public health has been done away with, but it feels to me like there's one more, and I
Yep,
can't remember what it is right now, but
Public lands.
Do you remember
There's
the-
judicial, but I don't know.
transportation, public lands, intergovernmental affairs, and health and human services is the one that went away. Justice and public safety.
Justice and public safety.
and I've never been to one that has that, so I don't know.
Mostly that deals with jails, juvenile corrections, more law enforcement stuff. And this is the last year, so it's kind of outdated, but in this book, Neil, the IEC puts out every year, lists all new commissioners, all new positions, and you'll get one of these here pretty quick.
Did
This is
you
last
give
year's.
them your information? Okay.
So let's move on down.
You want to keep the all hazard?
Yeah, I'll keep the all hazard mitigation. I've been going to those.
The U of I Advisory Board, because if you take the Fair Board, that would be a natural fit for you too, Neil. It meets once a year, and all it does is help Melissa set priorities for the U of I Extension Office in Valley County.
Oh, I see. Hey, Valley County Opioid Response Project. That's you.
Yeah, I haven't been to a meeting in a long time, to be honest with you, but Skip's on there, so I feel pretty confident that we're being well represented.
Okay, Southwest RAC, and that's you. We got to stay on that one. Workforce Development, that's you. Rollers Commission, I'm still on that one. The Natural Resource Mitigation Fund.
That one's I'm on,
Um,
unfortunately.
is that for IAC?
Yep, it is. Oh, it should have been under IAC. Yeah, I put it under state boards.
That's right, we traded last year, didn't we? And that's still Commissioner Mopin, okay. And then Magistrate Commission I'm on, Road Advisory, Sherry, and Strategic
And
Planning,
those
Campus
really are-
Planning, CIP Committee is all you. Do you want to give any of those up?
So campus planning is now been transitioned over to Clearwater until we do something else. I would like to stay with that one. Strategic planning, we're almost to the end of that. There's no reason anybody else take that over. But the CIP committee, if you guys are interested in that at all, so the CIP is our capital improvement process, which is a budgeting tool. So every division actually submits for approval to a group. Doug chairs it and Johanna chairing that, or is you chairing that? So together, they actually have a group together. Everyone looks at everything that's being proposed for the budget. And then
I'm working on it, but there's.
actually either approves it or denies it or puts it on a long-term action plan. So anything that's over $25,000 that's spent by any of our divisions have to go through the CIP program.
Any of the divisions.
Correct. Yep. So it's a budgeting planning.
Kind of
tool.
rate stuff too, doesn't it?
Yeah,
For
it
each
does.
projects.
Yeah.
Or once.
I'm happy to stay on it. We've been meeting on Wednesdays, so it's not a big deal. I'm usually here, but if someone else would like that opportunity to engage at that level, I'm happy to allow somebody to do
You
that.
meet every Wednesday or once a month or?
When, during the budgeting process,
Oh,
we
okay.
met 2 times, 3 times.
3 times, yeah.
So I can take that one over if you guys let me know when you're meeting. Okay, I think that covers them all. Hopefully, everybody out in the public understands how many things are involved in this job besides just the county stuff.
I'll make sure you have contact information for all of the boards that you took. And Eld, if any of them are ones that you have contact information, I'll reach out and
Yep.
Yep.
coordinate.
So at this time, there's no more questions on this. We're going to move on down our agenda. Our next item is not an action item. This is a workshop for waterways management. Kevin, you want to come on up front? And we kind of need to sit down and talk about the latest waterways management plan that we haven't really adopted yet.
So I put this on there just for the process, Eld. So we need to know how we're gonna take this forward. Love to have, Kevin's input on this. And Brian has given us some recommendations, but once this all came about, we really need to figure out what is enforceable and what's not enforceable, how the sheriff's department's going to engage in this conversation, how the prosecuting attorney feels about it. And so we're putting Kevin on notice, and he didn't really come prepared probably to talk.
I didn't even know about this.
Well, and that's okay. We're not trying to put you in the hot seat, but Sherry's exactly right. What we need to do is figure out what in the ordinance that's being presented to us is enforceable or will be enforced, and what isn't. Because I don't feel like we need to pass a bunch of rules and ordinances if it's not going to be enforced by you guys or by the prosecutor. So I would like to sit down, and when you guys are ready, and we can all sit down and say, you know what, this is going to be more of an educational aspect versus this is going to be where the hammer comes down as far as law enforcement. And if the prosecutor says, I'm not going to prosecute anybody for this, then we need to kind of rethink that whole thing. I know a lot of this is feel-good stuff, but whether or not it can be proved in a court of law and in a winnable case for the prosecutor is a whole different issue. And I would like for us to sit down together with you and the sheriff and anybody else you want to bring, saying, this isn't going to work, or this will work great, or this is how we're going to treat that. So I guess what I'm asking you is how soon do you think you could be ready to do that?
If I was able to see the plan, what is going on,
Okay?
within a week or two.
I would
Okay.
really, what do you think about the thought of putting it out to the Waterways Committee? Let them look at it too, see what their comments are, that they are an advisement committee to us. We have a lot of new members on there that did not participate in the past on this.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
concern I have with that is that's not really their function as far as legislative stuff. To me, their function is to support you guys. What do we got to do to get buoys out? Or what do we got to do to drag docks out of the water or logs or whatever? To me, that is more their function, but maybe it won't hurt just to get some ideas from some of them. What I'm concerned about is they're going to come back and say, we don't like any of it, or we want all of it, and
They're a recommending body. I mean, we can
Yeah.
either take their input or not. I mean, we've paid for this. We need to be thorough in our review of this, try and figure out what we can and cannot. bottom line is, we're trying to make our waterways sustainable. And we're trying to make sure that the experience that it's on them is not a health and safety issue. So if we can set what the goal is and back into that, that's what we need to talk about.
So Sherry, do you have the waterways in a PDF form?
I do, and I'm sending it to you right now. So, and maybe if you can send it out to the waterways team.
Yeah, I can send it out to the committee.
I think they just met, didn't they?
Yeah, we
So-
just met last week, so
When's your next meeting, next month?
next month.
I don't want to put this off too long. We need to get something on the books before.
I can, if you send me that email, I can shoot it out to them.
Okay.
And then ask for some information back.
Ask for input back if they have any, and
Send it to you. It's in your email.
within a week or two, we could probably, give me 2 weeks, because I haven't even seen this, so.
Okay, so let's plan to get back together on the 6th of February.
Okay,
Let's everybody shoot for around the 6th. Doug, if you could get this on the agenda for just a workshop, no action thing, just a workshop with the waterways, you guys, sheriff, and us, and we'll go through this pretty fine tooth comb and see what we like and don't like, and then go from there.
okay,
Does that work?
that works for me.
We have time in February,
We can make time, Mr.
so
Chairman.
let's give it,
You want to do an hour?
yeah, let's do an hour.
Unfortunately,
I think we've got time.
we can do it at 9 o'clock in the morning would be, we have an opening then.
That'll work.
Okay? So February 6th at 9 o'clock,
9:05, Mr. Chairman. too.
9:05. Good, because I
And if
want
you
your
don't-
input on this. You're the one that's actually going to be out there,
Yeah, because
so.
I'm the one that's out there, and
Finish it through the new recreation. Oh, well, no, they're not on the
No, they're
water.
not
Never
even
mind.
informed yet.
Never mind.
okay, sounds good.
Okay, thanks,
Thanks.
Kevin.
Mr. Chairman, just so I am clear, I am placing this on the February 6th, 2023 Commissioners' Agenda as a Waterways Management Plan Workshop.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm debating whether or not we should make it an action item.
Can you let Christina Kotcher know the progress? Thank you.
I don't think we're gonna be voting on anything, but maybe I
Place it
should
on as
leave
a-
that option open.
Mr. Chairman, I have it on as an action item.
I have a quick presentation before we go on to the next.
One more thing before you go, if you don't mind.
Oh, go ahead.
Oak, would you let Brian Noggle know about this too, because we want his input on this as well? Okay, thank you. So you go ahead, you're next.
We have a special presentation today.
Uh-oh.
Someone has been with the county for 10 years today. So
It seems like a
here
freaking
is your
eternity.
certificate for your 10-year service. You gotta stand up
I
and
gotta
bow.
stand
You
up.
gotta shake my hand and bow to Pat or something to receive
Oh,
your
wow, 10
certificate.
years.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Guys.
Been
Yeah,
a good mentor, a good friend, a good advocate for our county. Has done such good work for the county for 10 years with a true heart
well,
of service.
Amen.
it's a bucket of fun, I'll tell you what.
You sit on a different board than I do.
10 more years, you get the gold watch.
Go watch.
Oh, those are whiskey glasses.
Okay, we have about 5 more minutes. Pat, who are we doing the evaluation on today? You.
Her.
So we're gonna go into an executive. Unfortunately, I have to kick everybody out of the room for employee evaluation, and then we'll see everyone back here about 3 for the appeal. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive per Idaho Code 74-2061B.
Chairman, I move that we go into executive session for Idaho's Code 74-2061B to consider the evaluation of an employee.
Moved and seconded by roll call, please.
Mop and I.
Thompson, aye.
Hesbrick, aye, and Doug, we will be in at about 2:15.
Done that before.
You have. Okay. Brian. Head was totally.
We off, Doug?